are coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, welcome along to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going. Whatever you may be doing, thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Jim Coyle with you, as always. Justin Kalen, high atop the crew chief's box.
That's right.
Hope your day's off to a good start, and if not, we can get it headed in that direction. Great program, as always, but especially today. Mike Schumann, we're going to move him up a little bit and slide him in the Chronic spot. Chronic is traveling, so we're going to skip him for a day or so. We'll grab him back up on Thursday. Move Mike up, and then we'll slide Jay Billis in from ESPN. Looking forward to talking to Jay Billis, the often outspoken basketball analyst for ESPN. So that'll be interesting. Michael Westbrook in the news, of course, some all Big Ten selections, Archie Radio. We got a lot to get to. Before we do that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 12th day of March 2019. As the new AP Top 25 for college basketball is out, Gonzaga stays number one, and they are followed by a bunch of ACC, Virginia, UNC, Kentucky, and Duke. And as Jim mentioned, the Big Ten awards came out yesterday. Romeo lands on the All-Big Ten freshman team and the third-team All-Big Ten. That was voted on by the media. On the coach's side, he was on the second-team All-Big Ten. Juwan Morgan also voted to the third-team All-Big Ten, and Cassius Winston of Michigan State was voted Player of the Year. Those are your headlines for the Daily Hoosier on this 12th day of March 2019. For more, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
Two players, of course, in Romeo Langford and Juwan Morgan, Justin just mentioned, named to the All-Big Ten selection team. Of course, some people surprised on where they landed, actually.
Were you one of them?
Not really. Now, Juwan slid a little bit because Indiana slid. But the Big Ten, you have to understand again, toughest conference in the country, top to bottom. So that means there's a lot of good players in this conference this year. You got Ethan Happett's been in the conference for, 22, 23 years?
At least.
He's he's Wisconsin's first three-time All-Big Ten selection. That's saying something.
Yeah.
First time ever, but he's been around. He's been getting All Big Ten for 3 years. A lot of talent in this league.
Do you agree with the first team selections?
Yeah, I don't have them in front of me, but
Bruno
Cassius Winston.
Cassius Winston.
You kind of argue with that. I mean, it was between him and Carson Edwards.
Yeah.
As it should be, the leaders on the teams that won the Big Ten championship. Coach of the Year I picked that a while back. I'm like, how the hell you argue with that?
Yeah, can't.
Fresh of the Year.
That kind of upset me.
Why?
I just thought Romeo deserved it.
Why? Because you're an Indiana fan?
Well, I mean, I don't.
Is that because you're an Indiana fan? Yes or no?
No, I mean, I thought.
Okay, so you're unbiased.
No, I'm not completely unbiased, but if you look at the numbers, I mean, Romeo is on a struggling team. I mean, maybe that's what it came down to is Brazdeikis is on the better team, and I'm sure it probably was. But in terms of numbers, it should have gone to Romeo.
Okay, what are those numbers?
I'm about to pull them up for you.
I know he's the leading scorer from an average, per game average for freshmen, I believe. The difference is, yes, that Brazdeikis is doing this on a championship caliber team.
Yeah.
he's starting on a championship caliber team, which means he probably has less opportunities to shine as, say, someone on a struggling team.
Right. Romeo led every category over Brazdakis. Rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, points, turnovers. I mean, literally every category.
Highway robbery.
It is.
It's highway robbery.
Even shooting, he shot the ball better.
It does come down to the fact that he's on a crap team.
Yeah.
That's the truth. That's why that the Heisman Trophy, one time in its history has it gone to someone with a losing record, on a team with a losing record.
Yeah.
One time. And that team was Notre Dame. And that was in the 40s, 50s. Losers don't get much in American sports. If you're not on the winning team, the MVPs from the Super Bowl, they pick those off the losers too, or the winners?
Winners.
Doesn't change, folks. It doesn't change. Yeah, Romeo was probably the best freshman in the Big Ten. Numbers bear it out. But wasn't on a winning team. Not till now. Not till now. Indiana has a chance to show that, my gosh, you want to talk about a turnaround. They're on the cusp of going from death's door to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Pretty
They
wild.
are 2 wins away. Actually, I think they're 1 win away, but they are 2 wins away from absolutely solidifying them. If they won 2 games, that's a lock.
Well,
That's a lock. You can bet the house, bet the farm.
I'll tell you right now, they didn't get any easier with the news coming out of Caleb Wesson and Nick Ward coming back.
Nope, I saw that, and that was the first thing. I'm like, well, there's some talking points tomorrow.
Yeah.
Caleb Wesson was suspended from Ohio State indefinitely for conduct detrimental, whatever term they threw on it. But he's going to be back just in time for the Big Ten tournament.
Convenient.
Nick Ward, who's been out for Michigan State, he's going to be back just in time for the Big Ten tournament, especially for the Indiana game, which they don't play before that. So Indiana playing 2 teams with their star player having been out, returning just in time. Yeah. Now, Michigan State hadn't been hurt as much, I don't think, because Xavier Tillman has done a marvelous job filling in. That's more important for Ohio State, and that's more of a talking point because I think Indiana can lose the Michigan State game and it not be a big deal.
Sure.
They've beaten them twice already. They've won Michigan State's a Big Ten champion. Indiana's beaten them twice. They swept them. You're not going to get punished for losing 1 out of 3 games against a top 6 team.
Well,
But
especially
you
if
lose to
that,
Ohio State, that's a different story.
especially if that Michigan State game's competitive, I think that you definitely won't get knocked for it.
Well, I don't see how it wouldn't be competitive. But again, the biggest problem is Ohio State. You cannot lose to Ohio State.
Yeah.
No way ifs about it. Can't lose that game. Now it just got a little tougher with Weston coming back. It adds another element, but I don't think it matters. I think Indiana's a better team, period. And I just think Indiana's a better team, but Ohio State's going to be motivated. Weston's going to be motivated, just like when Devontae Green came back, motivated. Look at the play. Look how well he's played since he's returned.
Yeah.
Well, I would expect the same thing from Weston. He's got some stuff to prove. He let his teammates down. He's got to make up for that. So he's definitely going to try to do that. So, yeah, you're right. It just got a little bit more difficult for Indiana.
I mean, Indiana playing Ohio State without Caleb Wesson, I had the feeling 15, 16-point win. With Caleb Wesson, I just don't know. I mean, he changes their entire team. Going to be tricky.
We'll certainly find out tomorrow at 12:30. No, Thursday at 12:30. I'm off. My days are off today. Thursday at 12:30. Indiana with a bye in the first round. The Big Ten tournament does start tomorrow.
Yep.
Now, don't forget, you can catch that game right here. You don't have to go anywhere. 12:30 it starts. Don Fisher on the call. Pregame starts an hour before that at 11:30 Eastern Time. If you're on Central Time, of course. Adjust accordingly. Lots to get to today. Mike Schuman's on the show. Jay Billis is on the program. Get your comments in. Make sure you like or follow us on Facebook. You can follow the show rebroadcast if you don't catch it live on Apple Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, thedailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or at thegruelingtruth.net. You can follow me on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Get your questions, comments in. Man, I am looking forward to the Big Ten tournament. A little bit more of a pep in the walk of the Hoosiers. But now it's going to get really exciting with these players coming back. Everything's ramping up. It's tournament time, man.
Yep, best time of the year.
It is tournament time. It's the best and the worst time of the year. It's like being for me, it's like being a junkie. You get all strung out and you're all hopped up on tournament games, going all day long. You got one in each vein almost. You got IVs running on both sides. And then all of a sudden, poof, it goes away. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's like they just poop. They just take the tent down and shove the animals on the train, and they're out of town, baby. That circus leaves.
And all of a sudden, you got to wait 7 months again.
Woo! Spring football's going on right now.
That's right.
The women's program also awaiting to see if they'll be playing, where they'll be playing in the postseason, I should say. They will definitely be playing postseason. No doubt about that. Oh, before I forget, Michael Westbrook. Did you see this?
I did not. No, you mentioned it earlier, but I had no idea.
Well, if you remember, it wasn't too long ago, there was a kid that was on this.
Oh, you're talking Russell Westbrook.
Yes, what I say,
Russell.
Michael?
Yeah, Russell.
Russell Westbrook. Too many Westbrooks. Had that incident with a kid. The seats the courtside seats. This kid was just standing up, like this little 8-9-year-old kid, and Westbrook was like right in front of him, and so he just kind of reaches out and touches him, and Westbrook looks back like he was startled a little bit, and you could just tell he was like, "Man, what the hell are you doing?" So I knew it was coming. Well, it didn't take long. He gets into an altercation with a fan, a Utah Jazz fan, that he alleges said something to him, and Westbrook responded saying, he could be heard on tape saying, "I will basically mess you up, mess your wife up too."
Did you hear what the fan said to him?
Did I hear?
Yeah.
What it was alleged to have been said?
Yeah. According to Westbrook, the guy said, "Get down on your knees like you're used to." That's a little over the top.
It alleged to. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And the guy says he said something about icing his knees, but we don't know.
Yeah. Not good.
But see, that's what you get when you start involving fans. These people they're on courtside seats. That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
That's like letting people stick their arms into the tiger cage, into the lion cage.
Pretty stupid.
It is. You cannot put athletes and people together like that to me, that close. Because if you're playing the game the way you're supposed to be playing it, you're playing all out and you're locked in, and there's just no room for a mixture of those two. I don't think.
So, what's in your mind? What's the solution? Put them further back from the floor, like the NFL does in baseball.
It's too late. It's too late. They're not going to do that, man. This is all about money.
Right.
It's not. It's never going to change.
Agreed.
It's never going to change until somebody gets to a fight, and somebody beats somebody's ass on the sideline. See what happens then.
Well, we saw that at Malice at the Palace. That didn't change
No,
anything.
I'm talking about. No, that was in the stands. I'm talking about these people that are on the courtside seats saying something, and a player reach down and start bitch slapping somebody and see what happens. Yeah. Then it's going to happen one of these days. But that's what you get. People now have their arms into the lion's cage, man.
Well, when you think about fan and player interactions, it's always the players that are on the bad side of it. I mean, the players, rarely do they strike first. I don't know if you saw it this weekend, the soccer game, where the dude comes out of the stand and just clobbers one of the players right in the face, knocks him down. Did you see that at all?
I did not. No, I did not.
That's just unacceptable. That cannot happen. But players are never the ones starting
Where was this?
I believe it was a Manchester fan. Or
is it Europe?
Yeah, it was in Europe, yeah.
But see, that's like Monica Seles when she was attacked. Guy came out of the stands and stabbed her in a tennis match. That's my point. That's why there's got to be separation, man.
Agreed.
Separation. Hey, we got a lot to get to. On the show today, Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier joining us. Jay Billis from ESPN. And if you missed Don Fisher yesterday, we got a treat for you. But we got lots coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Stay tuned. We're back with more right after this.
She comes and goes. Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. Who could hang a name on you?
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us. Joined now by the great Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers. Don, it is always great talking to you, but it's always much funner after a big win by Indiana. And yesterday was pretty big as the Hoosiers are now on a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah, they've turned it around, which is kind of astounding when you consider that they were in a stroke of 12 of 13 losses. 12 losses in 13 games back 4 games ago, and it was just it's been an astounding turnaround. It just really has, and it all stems, I think, from the fact that this team, whatever issues they were having after the Minnesota ball game got aired out, and the next thing you know, this team is looking like they did back in November and December and playing like that, and all of a sudden they've won 4 straight, and now they put themselves in position to essentially, if they have any kind of a run at all in the Big Ten tournament, they're back in the NCAA.
Yeah, it's crazy. You could cut that center section of that 12 of 13 losses out, and it almost fits right in. They have picked right up from where they were at the beginning of the good stage, and they are just elevated that, and their play right now is pretty incredible. And I asked Archie yesterday, because the turnovers is what's mind-boggling. They had as many as 17 in a game, and then here of late, they've had 3 straight games with a half of just 2 turnovers and a half. It's incredible how they're playing so well.
Yep, and a big part of that, I think, and more than anything, has been due to the improvement of Rob Phinisee coming back after the concussion, and it took him a while to really find his game again. But his absence for almost a month, I think, really hurt this basketball team because of the concussion protocol that he was in, and then it took him a while to really kind of get the feel again once he got back into playing the game, because he wasn't as effective when he first came back in the first 2 or 3 games back either. But his presence out there has made a big difference. I think the other guy that has been, from a guard perspective, that has really made a difference has been Devontae Green. He has kind of picked up the pieces, so to speak, and started playing the kind of basketball he's capable of, and not making those kind of mistakes. Because when you talk about turnovers and how dramatically they've cut down, he and Justin Smith, Devontae and Justin Smith, were the 2 guys that were really struggling with that turnover issue more than any others. Devontae primarily because he was struggling with his decision making. And Justin, I'm not quite sure what his issues were, but he was turning it over a bunch too. And both of those guys have come back and started to play their best basketball of the season. So there's a lot of reasons why this team struggled during that period of time, not the least of which were all the injury issues that they dealt with earlier in the season. to get Deron Davis back, get him healthy again and contributing on a consistent basis. And of course, as we said, the concussion protocol for Rob Phinisee. Devontae Green, of course, sat out 3 ball games through a suspension. All of these issues that were going on during that 12 of 13 stretch really had major problems, or gave this team major problems. And since they've come back after the Minnesota game, which was a debacle in itself, this team has just not played the same. They've just played with more confidence. They've played looser. The offense that has been such a problem all season long has suddenly found itself a little bit. They're able to knock down some shots. The confidence level of this team is back to where it was back in November, December. And I just think Archie Miller has done a remarkable job of finding a way to get this thing turned.
I'm amazed at how much better of a coach he is with healthy players. I've been saying that for the last couple of weeks. It's funny how healthy players can make you so much a better coach. But, yeah, they have really been doing well. And you mentioned Devontae Green. The guard play has been unbelievable. With Rob coming back, you could tell he was still foggy. And Devontae, he not just the other thing, he's scoring the ball as well, too. And he's not doing it outside. He's not doing crazy things. He's pretty much staying within the framework of the team. But he's scoring the ball pretty well these last few games.
Well, there's no question, and that was been a big issue all season long too, in the sense that DeMonte's decision making at times is just, you sit there and you shake your head, and because he's a junior, he knows better, but he's always been that kind of that wild hair type guy that could go out there and make a crazy shot and then take one at some point where it was absolutely the worst time of the game to take one like that, and can destroy a lot of the things that you had worked up to that point to build. So, but he's gotten back to the point where he is now playing his best basketball of the season. It's kind of the same thing we saw last year from Devontae. There was a stretch of 5 or 6 ball games late in the year where he played as well as he'd played in his career, and this we're talking last year now, and then all of a sudden he kind of went haywire again, and then Archie ended up sitting down the last 3 or 4 games of the season. He just wasn't contributing like he had previously, and he went away. But hopefully this is not the case this year, because at this juncture they really need him to be a factor and help this team, and he's done that here of late. Hopefully it continues through the rest of this season.
And there's no way you can not talk about the performance of Juwan Morgan. Not only did he have just a killer day to go out on. If you're going to have a senior day, man, did he have one. But he did it all in 22 minutes with foul trouble. So he could have probably scored 40 points yesterday had he not been saddled with those fouls.
Well, you're just seeing the guy that he has been the entire time he's been in Indiana. Even back in his freshman season when he was going down with shoulder problems on almost a consistent basis, getting back up a day later, he'd be back in practice. 2 days later, he'd be playing in a game. And even though he wasn't playing the major minutes that he is now, he contributed almost from the very beginning of his career, despite the fact that he was dealing with separation of his shoulder and had to have surgery after that freshman season. His sophomore year, he had to battle through ankle injuries and several other problems. And still, he was a contributor almost every time he came out on the floor. He did really good things. And then last year, he just basically took over. He started playing his best basketball of his career. He was healthy again. He fought through the issues of not winning as consistently. That team didn't win as consistently as he would have liked, and that ball club struggled with kind of the same issues that this team has had this year. And from an offensive standpoint, nobody was a consistent three-point scorer, even though you had guys that could knock down threes in that ball club. But they were still learning the new system and all those kinds of things, so you had to fight through that. And then, of course, this year, he's just been spectacular. And even though he went through a little slump of his own, from a scoring perspective, he continued to do things that helped this team. Obviously, tremendous at the rebounding end. He started blocking shots. He's a terrific assist guy. I can't say enough about Juwan Morgan. He, to me, epitomizes what an Indiana basketball player should be. Unselfish, a guy that cares more about team than he does about himself. And then, of course, he contributes in virtually every way on the floor. He has been a model for Indiana University basketball players in this modern era, in my opinion.
And he quietly has become one of the best ever for Indiana all time. He's in the top 30 scoring, top 15 rebounds, top 15 in blocks. He quietly amassed some big numbers.
Absolutely. And like I say, I mean, it is about the whole picture when you talk about Juwan Morgan. He's a great kid. His teammates love him. He's one of those guys that leads by example. He's not the most verbal guy out there, and he's the first to tell you that. But he is just a terrific person on top of being a terrific basketball player. I can't foresee what his future is in the NBA because I'm not gifted in that department. I've had guys all along were great college basketball players that went on and didn't do much in the NBA. But from my perspective, he's the kind of guy that any coach in the NBA or any of these guys that play in the NBA would want on his team. He's that jack of all trades, master of none type player. He's kind of an undersized guy when it comes to post play, and yet he finds a way to get it done. He's just a terrific talent. I wish him nothing but the best, but right now I want his best to be out there for Indiana right now the rest of the season because they're going to need him in the Big Ten tournament, no doubt.
Absolutely, and that gets underway on Thursday for the Hoosiers as they will take on Ohio State at 12:30. Of course, you can hear Don on the call right here on that day at 12:30 Eastern Time. And tonight, you're with Archie at the Holiday Inn in Bloomington, of course, for the Coaches Show.
Yep, final show of the year with Coach Miller. This will be our 15th show of the season, which is the number that we always have throughout the year. And I just think Archie Miller has done a terrific job with this basketball team. I even think that he's changed what he has done from a coaching perspective a little bit here late in the season. And it's hard to quantify. It's hard to really pick up on it unless you're around all the time. But I've seen a change in him as well. And not necessarily what they're trying to do from an X and O standpoint or anything like that, just in kind of the way he's handling players, that kind of thing. And I really think this guy is a terrific basketball coach. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I think he's had to live with some problems with this ball club through his first 2 years now, but he's made adjustments. And you don't make the changes that Indiana's made, whatever they may be or however small or microscopic they might be, here at the end of the season and turn it around like this if you don't know what you're doing as a basketball coach. And I know people out there criticize and all those kinds of things. I don't look at chat room boards. I don't look at any of that stuff. So I don't hear nearly as much of it as you guys might because I know a lot of you are on the social media.
You're better off, Don. You're way better off doing that.
Trust me, I know that. That's why I'm not on them. That's why I don't look at them. But I know what this guy can do as a basketball coach, and whatever criticism they're making out there in that regard just shows you that a lot of them have never coached or played the game.
Absolutely, because he has done – that's why the joke was he's such a better coach with healthy players. It's done a remarkable job. But, Don, I can't thank you enough. And, look, make sure everyone tunes in tonight to catch Don and Coach at the Holiday Inn for the Coaches Show. And thank you so much, Don. Look forward to it. Good luck at the Big Ten tournament on Thursday.
Yep. We'll look forward to telling you about a really great tournament run next Monday, hopefully.
That would be great, Don. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend or a great week.
Thanks. See ya.
And that was Don Fisher joining us as he does each and every week. We appreciate Don consistently coming on the show, giving us our Indiana updates as the season winds down and we head towards the Big Ten tournament. We'll talk all about that and more right here on Indiana Sports Beat when we get back from this break. Stay with us.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This hour of Indiana Sports Beat is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
This has been special. There's just been too many opportunities to really, go through. I'm just going to miss each and every one of you guys, especially my teammates now. I love all you guys, all my former teammates. They always call me on the J-Mo because if they ever need anything, they do call. Actually, I think Ron has his emergency contact.
A little bit of Juwan Morgan from Senior Day speeches there. Not sure what all you could hear, but one thing he was, somebody yelled out J-Mo during the deal, and he was laughing. Joe, yeah, they call me J-Mo. They can call me. They call me all right. They're always calling me because I'm the guy that they call. He goes, as a matter of fact, because I think Duran has me as one of his emergency contacts.
I've got to ask, were you sitting next to Mike Schumann during those interviews? Yes.
You mean the ones on the floor?
Yeah.
He was probably next to me, but yeah. I was.
Because at one point I'm watching these Senior Day speeches, and I hear somebody laugh in the background. I swore it was you. I just thought it was funny.
It was me, probably. I did laugh once. I laughed at Juwan Morgan, as a matter of fact.
You got a very distinct laugh.
Yeah, that was. I shot the video, so that was probably my voice. Yes.
Well, nicely done, then.
Well, you mean shooting the video?
Yeah. Good job.
I shoot video all the time. Unbelievable. Softball teams in action today. They have a doubleheader. I have to look up who this is. FGCU.
Florida Gulf Coast.
I was getting ready to say that was going to be my guess.
Dunk City from the NCAA tournament a few years ago.
So they have a doubleheader today. Starts at 5 o'clock. It's the only action on the Indiana schedule today, I believe.
Light day.
Yes, a light day. Basketball, of course, kicks off on Thursday, the Big Ten tournament. 12:30 matchup with Michigan State can be heard right here. Don Fisher on the call, of course. Pregame starts an hour before. That's Eastern Daylight Time. 12:30. If they win that game, they come back a day later, play at the same time, and they'll play Michigan State. They already know who they'll have to play.
Yep. Is that an
Both
advantage
teams.
or?
I don't know that it really matters. Really, at this stage. You're playing somebody good, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
With the exception of you're playing someone who you've beaten twice. Well, you would play someone you'd beaten twice. And that's tough to beat somebody 3 times, man.
Right.
Especially with the fact that they have Nick Ward coming back. Makes a big difference in their game. It's just tough to beat somebody 3 times. I was really hoping they'd play Iowa. For that same reason. Hell, they should have beat them both times.
Yeah.
Lost to them twice. I didn't see them losing to them a 3rd time. Really like to have seen them matched up with Iowa. Michigan State's going to be pissed off. They're going to need to win. They want a higher seed. Michigan State feels like they have something to prove, man. Indiana swept them.
Yeah.
They had to share the Big Ten Conference. They want to prove something.
Archie was actually asked last night on the coaches show about this team's approach to the Big Ten tournament this week. Let's hear what he had to say.
Right.
Without question. We're not going there. We're not going there to do anything else. But it starts with one game. And however you want to look at it, this one game is a championship type of a game for us. We have to be ready to play, and Ohio State clearly wants to do it as well. And it feels like there's nothing like winning in postseason. Whether you're in the conference tournament, whether you're in the NCAA tournament, when you're able to win a game in a tournament in advance and watch the games at night while your team's preparing for the next morning or whatever it may be, just having the vibe in the hotel, it's just an unbelievable feeling for a player. And if you're ever able to advance multiple times, it really becomes something special. And when you do that, your players that are in that moment, obviously they grow. They get really confident, and they start to be something that wow, like where did this come from? It's just amazing how that happens. But you also get carryover from year to year. Whenever you have postseason success, your returners are now much better players and more game ready and understand what the big time moment is because you've advanced on that type of a stage. So you get carryover a lot of different ways with winning at this time of year.
Absolutely, you do. Teams like Duke and Kansas and North Carolina, it's talking about winning and advancing over and over and over, and it builds a culture.
Yeah.
Culture that used to exist and live and reside in Bloomington, but has to be rebuilt, which I have full confidence that it will be. It's just that no longer resides in Bloomington at the moment.
Well, and I think you saw a lot of times this season what this team can be in the future and where they're headed. I mean, the turnaround certainly was phenomenal.
Now you see right now what they can be in the future.
Sure, yeah. But I mean,
when they have better talent. People don't understand. And this is not a knock on anybody, any player. It's not. But when you have Al Durham, when you have Justin Smith, that's the kind of player you have. That's not an R.J. Barrett. It's not a Zion Williamson. It's not a, I can go on and on and on, and Cassius Winston and on and on and on, and Carson Edwards and on and on and on. Until you have top flight players in the plural, you are not going to be a top flight program. Right. It's pretty cut and dry. Until you have great players in the plural, you're not going to be a great program. Right. And it's going to take a minute to build that culture to where it's back to having a plethora of great players and not mediocre players. Yeah. Not a bench full of players that shouldn't have been recruited.
I think it's okay to have some mediocre players as long as those guys come in and know their role and what they're supposed to do to help the team. You know, I don't think you have to have.
When I say mediocre players, I'm talking about you can't have mediocre players as your starters.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Well, you don't have a choice but to agree with it because it's a fact. You can, but you're going to be mediocre.
Right.
It's just a fact. I mean, you're not going to be great until you're great, and you have to have great players to be great. It's just simple mathematics.
Right.
Archie's building towards that. He's trying, but that's going to take a minute, man. That's going to take, and then we're not talking about one recruiting class here. It's a culture. It's a continuous exchange of talent. Rotating talent in, rotating talent out. Hopefully staying 2-3 years. Then you get a nice little turnaround there. Then you can just bring guys in, work them out. But Archie has to get to that point.
Right.
He has to be allowed to get to that point. He's not there. He's done this with these guys. He's got Romeo, which is a great player. He's got Juwan, which is a great player. But other than that,
about it.
Let me ask you this: Who would Al Durham start for? Would he start for one of the great teams? Would he start for Michigan? Would he start for Michigan State?
I don't know if he's the best one to bring up because I think he could start for a lot of teams. I think he brings enough to the table.
Really? You think he can start for Michigan?
Probably not Michigan.
Oh, well, who do you think we're talking about here? Rutgers?
Michigan's loaded.
I'm not talking about the bottom.
No.
Duh. What is my point that I'm making? And where is Michigan? At the top of the Big Ten. Great teams have great players.
Well, Purdue
my point entirely.
Purdue also finished on top of the Big Ten, and I think Al could have a case to start for Purdue.
Really?
I think the case is there.
Okay, really? How? He doesn't score points.
Well, when you got Carson Edwards, you don't need him to.
Don't tell me what you need. You got to tell me what you do.
Yeah, I see your point.
Why? That's the thing. And I'm not picking on one player, any player. The point is you've got to have great players to be a great team.
Yeah.
If you're going to be great, you got to be great. Takes a while.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while. It's a whole cash. It's just a ton of stuff. Yeah. It's the environment. It's the attitude. It's the players. It's the culture. And you don't just snap your fingers and change that.
Nope.
It's on its way, though.
For sure.
No doubt. I mean, the fact that Archie could lose this team like he did and get them back, that says a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Because they were lost. I mean, they were spiraling.
Well, and I thought you made a good point yesterday when talking to Don Fisher, and I hate to keep harping on it, but, I mean, Indiana did have to deal with a ton of injuries.
Absolutely, and it's a fact. Yeah. And it's not a bogus excuse. I don't care what anybody says. That's a fact. It affected – there was too widespread. Yeah. You had 8 different guys that have lost time because of injuries, 8 scholarship players. They only have 12 on that team because one's lost for the year.
Hard to go through.
So yeah, injuries play a humongous role. Your starting point guard gets a concussion in the middle of the season. Not good. I mean, Devontae Green was being Devontae back then. Al Durham's okay, but Al Durham is just okay. Justin Smith had been Justin Smith. So what does that leave you? Not much. Jake Forrester's not ready. Clifton Moore can't do anything. Demezy Anderson obviously is not ready.
But I think about a couple of those guys you mentioned, guys like Justin Smith and Devontae Green. They've completely turned it around. Those two.
Devontae Green has been playing exceptionally well.
Unbelievable, yeah. I mean, his lack of turnovers.
He's part of the turnaround.
Yeah.
He's a big part of the turnaround. Yeah. He's been producing. Justin Smith had a huge game, obviously, against Michigan State. And he hasn't killed them with things, but he shot a couple three-pointers the other day. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you shooting that shot? It's not your shot. It's not for you to take. Learning their roles. And Devontae Green has probably done the best at that right here of late, of filling a role and doing it very, very well and playing better while doing it. But Archie's got him settled down and saying, hey, look, I don't really need you going all Devontae all the time. I need you to be a part of the team. Yeah. And he's playing as a team member now, and it's working for him, which is working for the team.
Yeah.
Ron Davis is given some minutes.
I think you could make the case for Devontae Green being the X factor, but then you bring up a guy like Deron Davis and you think about what he's done the past couple of weeks. Just an incredible turnaround by all the guys that you needed to step up from the get-go this season, and that didn't happen. But now they've come around, and Indiana's playing really well.
Well, everybody's healthy.
Yeah, and that makes all the difference in the world.
They're following the rules. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're playing together. They look like they're having fun. There's smiles on faces, laughs. Of course, winning cures a lot of ills. I mean, daggone it, losing that Purdue game just on a frickin' tip-in. Look how big that game looms now.
Well, then losing Arkansas on a missed tip-in.
But that was a lot. That wasn't after the horrible losing streak.
True.
The Purdue game was. They could have beaten both Big Ten champions. They swept one of them and damn near split with the other. That's not bad for a team that was fighting at the bottom.
Nope.
But injuries I think it played a bigger part quicker than they were ready for, and it got away quick. It got away from them quickly. But it's back. They seem to have it together. They are playing extraordinarily well at the right time right now, and that's what matters. Tournament, they're all they have to do is continue to play well. They have no margin for error. That's the sad thing is they can't lose to Ohio State. Had they beaten Purdue, had they beaten Arkansas, had they beaten Iowa in that overtime game, they have a little margin for error because those would have been more quad one wins. But they don't have that margin for error right now. So they have to win, which Ohio State's a team that they should beat, but Ohio State's no slouch. Ohio State's won more Big Ten games than Indiana has. And Ohio State has their best player back.
Yeah. Gonna be tricky.
It's not going to be easy. Not going to be easy. Hey, we've got a lot coming up. Mike Schuman's on the show today. Jay Billis joins us today. We're going to hear from Archie Miller. All Big Ten selections have been made. We'll talk about that. Romeo was on a couple of them. He was on the freshman team. Did not get freshman of the year. Let us know what your thoughts are. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Make sure you like or follow us on Facebook. If you don't catch the show live, you can catch the rebroadcast on Apple Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, thedailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or the rulingtruth.net. And you can follow me on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISP. Ubiquitous. We'll also hear from who was with Archie last night? Devontae?
Yeah, we could probably play a little bit of that. Devontae, he probably needs some serious interview coaching. That's all I'm saying.
They all do.
Well, Devontae was the worst.
Archie talked about Wesson for Ohio State coming back. We'll hear from him talk about that. That and plenty more we got to do today, got to talk about. So stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat's coming back with plenty more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving Southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Welcome along, Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us and taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Jim Coyle with you as always. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Justin Kalen, high top the crew chief's box.
That's right.
We got plenty to talk about, get to. Mike Schuman's on with us today. Jay Billis from ESPN joins us as well. Also, we got a lot to talk about. The Hoosiers in action this weekend in the Big Ten tournament. All Big Ten selections are out. Plenty to get to. Before we do that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your daily Hoosier headlines for this 12th day of March 2019. The new AP Top 25 college basketball poll is out. Gonzaga stays number 1, followed by Virginia, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Duke. As Jim said, the Big Ten awards came out yesterday. Romeo lands on the All-Big Ten freshman team and the third-team All-Big Ten. He was on the second team in the coaches' vote All-Big Ten. Juwan Morgan also voted to third-team All-Big Ten, and Cassius Winston of Michigan State voted Player of the Year. Zach McRoberts also voted as a Big Ten sportsmanship honoree. Those are a look at your daily Hoosier headlines for this 12th day of March 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
Congratulations to all those winners, the awards. Matt Painter getting Coach of the Year. No surprise there. Figured that was going to happen. You can't deny that.
No. As much as you want to, you can't.
Big Ten tournament gets underway tomorrow in Chicago. The Hoosiers in action on Thursday at 12:30 as they will take on Ohio State and see if they can add to their NCAA tournament hopeful resume. If they're able to get by Ohio State, they get to play Michigan State as a reward. Both teams with their top players having been not with the team, both coming back. Wesson for Ohio State, Nick Ward for Michigan State. Archie talked about Wesson in his radio show last night. Talked about what he meant to them and having him back for Ohio State, what that means for them. Do you have that, Justin?
I do. Let's have a listen.
Well, he's such an unbelievable presence in terms of they can play around him. He's great, big body that doesn't need a whole lot of his angles, the way he creates angles, the way that he flips his hips. He's a true low post player with really good technique and feet, and he's got great touch around the basket. The key for him is obviously staying in the games. When he's been in foul trouble, that's changed their team. In our game, he didn't pick up very many fouls, and he was out there. And the way that they tended to try to use him in our game was to not guard on the perimeter, keep him in the paint. He was always around the rim and made things very difficult on us. And then defensively, we had our work cut out for us. But everybody does. He's big, can really seal. He's got great hands. He's got good touch. The hopefully thing about him is, he's foul prone. So maybe he's not in the game as much if things are going well.
All right. Archie Miller talking with Archie Radio last night, talking about the return of Mr. Wesson for the Ohio State Buckeyes, who had been away for unspecified reasons. But he returns just in time to take on Indiana, just like Nick Ward returns just in time to take on Indiana for Michigan State.
Lovely.
So the road to the NCAA tournament for Indiana just got a little tougher. I mean, I think that they get in with a win over Ohio State, but that's just me. There's no guarantee of that. Because if what are they right now, 17-14?
Yes, I believe, yeah.
And so if they can get a win over Ohio State, it'd be 18-14. But if they lose to Michigan State, 18-15, that ties the record for the most losses, or does that exceed what Vanderbilt got in with?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to look.
And of all teams, though, I can't believe Vanderbilt. I remember when it happened. It was the year before last, I think. But I was like, why Vanderbilt of all teams? They played in a weak conference, and they're not a great team. But that's the number. I think it's 14, but it may be 15. But that would put Indiana at 15, 18-15 with a lot of good wins. So I think they still make it in with the win over Ohio State, but that just got tougher with the return of Wesson.
Vanderbilt had 16, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, 19 and 16, and they got in.
Holy smokes! Well, Indiana won't have that. Gee whiz.
Impossible to have that at this point.
If you can have a Vanderbilt team with 16 losses, gee whiz, Indiana They've lost to some good teams.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You take a look at the teams that are on the bubble. You've got Belmont. You've got Lipscomb. You've got Furman. You're going to put any of those teams in the tournament over Indiana? Really?
Who have they beaten?
Right.
Who's Murray State beaten for that matter? I know they have John Morant.
Well, they won their conference
and the NCAA
championship.
Once I get that. I understand.
So they're in.
But had they not, it would suck to not have Murray State in.
Right.
But who did they beat? Nobody. No one. They may have beaten Western Kentucky or something. But yeah, there's many of these teams. They don't have the wins that Indiana has. And yeah, Indiana's got losses, but there's a lot of losses against the quad ones. Yeah, losses to Duke and to Michigan and to tons of teams in the Big Ten. They don't have bad losses. They don't have quad 3 or quad 4 losses. 0. Big difference.
Indiana escaped last night. I don't know if you watched. I believe it was the Southern Conference Championship. Did you see that with Wofford and UNCG?
I did not.
If North Carolina Greensboro would have won, which they were in the lead for the majority of the game, they would have got the automatic berth. And Wofford,
bid stealer.
And Wofford probably would have stole a bid because they went 28-4 and 18-0 in conference. So luckily Wofford comes back and wins that game, and UNCG is likely out.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Belmont and Murray State to talk because that's why. But I don't get Belmont. Who have they beaten? Yeah, because you have a nice record. Oh well, okay. You're the best mediocre team. I mean, you can. That's teams like Houston. You wonder about because who have they beaten? They look good. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying they're when you don't play people, questions abound. Questions abound.
Text into the text line real quick. Going back to Romeo or Brazdakis as freshman, Joker texts in and asks, how many coaches base their defense to slow Romeo? How many base defense to slow Brazdakis? And Romeo still led the stats. It's a good point.
Well, Romeo was the freshman of the year. There's no doubt. But again, it's just he's on a losing team, man. He's not on a winner. Just you go down through history. How many MVPs come from the losing team? They don't. They don't. I mean, it's not supposed to be a part of it, truth be told. But that's why the Heisman Trophy winner comes off of the winning teams.
Yep.
You're going to tell me Tevin Coleman from a few years ago who rushed for 2,000 yards, it's only happened 18 times in the history of college football. How many thousands of running backs have there been over the 100 years of college football?
Lots.
And only 18 times has someone rushed for 2,000 yards. And Tevin Coleman did it on a mediocre Indiana team in the Big Ten Conference against Ohio State, against Wisconsin, blah, blah, blah. But yet he didn't even get an invite to New York. Didn't even get an invite.
Highway robbery.
Because he wasn't on Oklahoma or Alabama or those teams. That's why. Does that make it right? Nope. But it's just a fact of the matter. And Romeo didn't win it because he was on a non-winning team. Indiana did not. If they would have just had a decent season, I think he wins that.
Yeah.
But not from the bottom, not struggling to get to the NCAA tournament.
Even close to 500 in league play, I think, gets you it. But
Bill texted in, if Race Thompson would have been healthy the whole year, he could have taken Justin Smith's starting spot. Probably would have.
I don't know. Race, I like Race a lot, and I like what he brings to his team a lot, and I think he's going to be a great player in the future. But he kind of reminds me of a Zach McRoberts, whereas you're going to put him out there because he hustles and he's great defensively, but he doesn't really provide a whole lot of scoring. Whereas with Justin Smith,
well, not yet he hasn't.
Scoring.
I don't know what he can do in the future. He hasn't.
Right.
Man, he's barely played, dude. He's barely played.
And that's true.
His offensive game is not one that's going to bust loose like that.
Sure.
He's not a shooter. He's going to bang. But I don't think he's going to be a big offensive player. You're right. He's not going to be a big one, I don't think. But just to have him as a body to bring in to spell these guys, that's a huge difference. When these guys are playing 33, 34 minutes, look at Michigan State's numbers. Their starters are all playing over 33, 34 minutes. And they got their ass kicked because they ran out of gas, and that's exactly what happened to them. They brought 3 guys in off the bench that did nothing for them, produced nothing. It looked just like Indiana's stats back when they were on that losing streak. It's exactly what it looked like. I mean, almost identical. There's a reason, man. You can't play 5-on-10, which is what Michigan State was trying to do. You can't even do that against Indiana with Ray Thompson coming off the bench, with Zach McRoberts coming off the bench. You just can't. It's just a fact. You got to have the bodies. And just having Race as a body is a huge, huge thing. Duran, look at Duran coming in. But yeah, if they can replace Justin Smith as a starter, that's what's going to elevate this team. Having somebody in that position that's good, that's averages 8-9 points a game. That's what you have to be good. Go back and look at the great teams in Indiana history. Look how many times they had 5 guys averaging double figures, or 3 or 4 guys averaging double figures. Those are good teams. That's not going on this team. Trust me, you can look at the numbers and see it.
Text in the show, as Tim texted in this time, says, any news on Bob Knight? Heard his health was not good.
This was something that was blown out of proportion.
I think so, too.
No, his health is not good, but his health was not good last week, last month.
I mean, dude's like, that. What, 80? Probably not that old.
Probably getting close to that. But nothing has changed. But in the last, he's in declining health. That it's nothing new.
Getting old.
It's something that was said that I guarantee you Don wishes he could take it back, because he certainly didn't intend to start that little deal. But yeah, he's in declining health. Dementia, basically, is what it is. So, well, we got a lot coming up on the program. Mike Schumann joins us next from the Daily Hoosier. Jay Billis from ESPN joins us as well. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat got lots more coming back after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Today's guest is brought to you by Little Family Dentistry of Summersburg.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Man, what an enigma they've been to the national media. It'd be interesting to get a perspective from the outside, especially an ACC perspective, because, you know, he's all ACC, even though he's unbiased because he works for ESPN. I'm winking.
Yeah.
But so there's that.
I think he's pretty fair, though. I mean, I'm curious to listen to this segment as well. I've been kind of addicted here in the last couple of weeks to reading and listening to independent takes on IU's NCAA resume right now, because I'll be the first to admit it's a strange one. I mean, in my mind, they are that team this year that everybody talks about as, you know, are they truly worthy with a record like they have? And I can truly understand both sides of the argument.
Well, in years past, the losses, you're going to say, most people say no from an optics standpoint. But a minute ago, I was talking with Justin, and I'm talking about the team that holds the all-time record, Vanderbilt, from a few years ago. They got in with, what did you say, Justin, 15 losses?
16.
16. That's crazy. See, to me, that's crazy. Not only 16 losses, but Vanderbilt. Who the hell were they playing? They were in the SEC. SEC wasn't jack a few years ago. It never has been really. They're having a good year this year, but for Vanderbilt to have gotten in with that many losses, I'm like, are you kidding me? There's no way they had the wins that Indiana has. So that makes this not look as bad to me. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Indiana's got to take care of business, and they got to win against Ohio State on Thursday in Chicago.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I think is pretty clear. I mean, you never know what's in the head of the people on the committee in that room, but it certainly does feel like, you know, if Indiana's convinced people here over the last 2 weeks, you wouldn't want them to lose to another team that they're clearly also competing against on the bubble, and that has struggled down the stretch here, although that's largely because they were missing Wesson, who's going to play. But yeah, I think they got to get that win. I think that's the only win they need. I know there's a lot of talk about do they need two. I don't think they're going to harm themselves at all by losing to a Michigan State team that they've already beaten twice. That just doesn't even make sense really to me. But the one win
that's
in
the
the Big Ten
saving
tournament,
grace.
right? I mean, it's not a bad loss at all, and they've already effectively avenged that loss twice. So, I mean, I guess if they lost by 30, someone could say, you know what, there's your real Indiana versus Michigan State output. But I just don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think it's the right answer.
Yeah, I've said that the committee's not going to punish Indiana for losing 1 out of 3 games against the Big Ten champion.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. But like you said, they can't lose by 30 either. They've got to be competitive, but they've got to beat Ohio State first. If they don't beat Ohio State, none of this matters. It's off the table. I don't think they get in, but even then, you never know. But I definitely think they have to have the mindset that they have, at all costs, beat Ohio State, and that's with Wesson. Archie talked about, we played a clip from him earlier talking about he's a difference maker for them. They're a different team when they have him on the floor.
Yeah, he's just so big. I mean, he just takes up space in the lane. And, you know, I think Duran can match up with him pretty well. I think probably the saving grace with Wesson being out for a few weeks is that he's probably not going to play as many minutes. So I think minutes for minutes, Duran can probably handle that matchup. But it was really the other guys that beat us in the first matchup. I think his brother, Andre Wesson, had a really good game. I think Justin Smith struggled to guard him, which surprised me. Even down to the last play, you know, he got free for the game-winning basket. And, you know, C.J. Jackson just continues to make big shots against Indiana. So I think it's some of the other guys. But I think the real thing for me in this game, because if you remember back to that first meeting, it was just Indiana's offense couldn't get anything going. I think Ohio State, probably better than anyone, executed that packet in the paint defensive strategy, you know, in part because they've got a guy like Wesson who can just take up so much space. But they really forced Indiana's defense to play out on the perimeter, and Indiana really struggled. But, you know, here in the last 2 games, we've seen Indiana average over 90 a game. So which offense are we going to see? Or have they truly discovered something, or has it been just a byproduct of who they've played here in the last 2 games? I think that's going to be really interesting to see what the offense looks like.
Yeah, they have got to continue the high level of play against a higher level of opponent now in taking Ohio State. And Ohio State's playing for their life because Joe Lunardi has Ohio State as in the last 4 in. Indiana is in the first 4 out. So this is basically a play-in game for Indiana and a play-out game for Ohio State.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. I can't see both teams making the tournament. And as you're saying, they play each other. So it's going to be really interesting. You know, if nerves come into play in the game, I mean, Indiana's the team that's riding the momentum. Ohio State's got to kind of reintegrate a key player that, you know, hasn't played in 3 weeks. So, you know, Indiana should have the advantage, but you never know how nerves factor into it. And, you know, I guess Ohio State may have the psychological advantage of beating Indiana here in the last few meetings, but they've been really close games. So I don't know how much of a factor that really is.
Well, I still don't think people understand that Ohio State is wanting this game just as badly as Indiana is because they're playing for their life. They lose, they're out. They're more than likely out of the NCAA tournament if they lose. So This is a winner-take-all kind of a scenario. So this game has a ton on the line for it for both sides.
Yep, it absolutely does. I think the loser is going to be playing in the NIT come next week.
Devontae Green has been one of the big reasons for Indiana's turnaround. His play, he has been very productive without being destructive, and that has been a part of his game that had been hurtful to the team. You know, the turnovers and the wild play. Man, he has gotten things under control. He is scoring. He has been efficient. I think he was 6 of 8 at the last game with 1 turnover. And the fact that you've got Rob Phinisee and Devontae Green handling the ball as much as they do and not turning the ball over, because Indiana as a team has not been turning the ball over. They've played 3 straight games having at least one half in each game of 2 turnover or less. And that, for this team, that's mind-blowing, because they were just a few games removed from a 17 turnover game. But a big reason for the resurgence is taking care of the ball. But a big reason for that is the health of Rob Phinisee and the resurgence of Devontae Green at the guard spots.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that, Phinisee he came back against Maryland, but he wasn't himself for quite some time. And then Green was suspended for several games. So they really haven't had their true, 1-2 punch handling the ball for much of the Big Ten season. And I agree. This is the best Devontae Green has played in my mind throughout his career. He just looks incredibly confident right now. And we've always heard that in March that, having good guard play is what leads teams on runs. And I can see that being a possibility if Devontae stays confident, because, he's obviously ebbed and flowed in that regard throughout his career. But if he can continue to, kind of play within himself a little bit more, which I think he's clearly been doing, and just, be confident about stepping up and taking shots. And he and Don Fisher talked about that a lot last night on the radio, is about confidence. And he wasn't afraid to say that was part of what's going on here, is that he's just been a more confident player here lately. And if that continues, I am confident that Indiana can continue to look really good on the offensive end. I think, the Phinisee Green combination, whether they're on the court or kind of subbing out for each other, is a very, very good guard combination, probably one of the best in the league when they're on top of their game like they are right now.
I agree. And Juwan Morgan, not that he has had a resurgence, but he kind of disappeared a little bit. I don't know if disappeared is the right word, but his production had fallen off a little bit. But man, is it back with an abundance? And what a great game he finished his regular season on as a senior. But he is playing as well as he has in quite some time right now. This entire team, they're peaking. I hate to be cliche, but man, they're peaking at the right time.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, and here's another thing for the IU's NCAA resume, if injuries factor into what the committee thinks about, and we know that they do, is Indiana's the healthiest they've been all year. And, oh, by the way, they're peaking, as you said. Shouldn't that tell you that this is actually a pretty good team? And I think the answer is yes. And I think a big part of it is their health as to why they're peaking. I mean, the first time that they played Rutgers, coming off the bench was Moore and Forrester and Fitzner and Demezy Anderson. That was your bench, because everybody else was injured. Compare that to Sunday, where you've got Davis and Green and McRoberts, and it's just a completely different team. You're not kind of holding on for dear life once you go to your bench. They're coming at you in waves with good play, and truly a bench that's better than most teams around the country. And so that to me has made a big difference here in the last few games.
Yeah, because I talked about it in depthly at the beginning of the year, the depth that this team had and how it was going to be so good for them. And that's part of the reason why they were going to be so good, was that depth that obviously dissipated with all the injuries. But now we're seeing that come back a little bit, and you're seeing how good this team could have been. Well, that's why we talk about that depth. Well, here, this is what it does for you. It allows you to take your first wave out and bring in guys that you have confidence in, that can hold, at least hold serve while the guys are getting a breath on the bench. And they didn't have that during the season. I mean, they didn't have it at all. And I compared it to Michigan State in the last game. If you look at the numbers, look at the box scores, Michigan State played about 8 guys. They brought 3 off the bench that played a few minutes. They did nothing. They gave them nothing. They got everything from those 5 starters who all played over 30 minutes. And Tom Izzo talked about them just running out of gas. And it's true. They did. They got nothing from nobody else. And you can't play 5 on 11, which is what Indiana was having to do earlier this season with the injuries when they were suffering through that. And that's exactly how their stat book looked then. So it's made a huge difference having those guys to bring in, and the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it goes beyond what we even see in the games. It goes back to practice and how, they can't even really put together a complete, 5-on-5 practice. We've heard Archie talk about that throughout the season. The starters aren't getting practice time against the best competition. They're getting practice against guys that really weren't ready for Big Ten play. So, I think the level of competition in practice is amped up, and that's translated to games as well.
And to show how close this season actually was, Joker texted in that IU has 9 losses of 8 points or less for an average of 4 points per loss. 6 of those losses are 5 points or less. And if you don't think that's just all the matter of a couple of free throws and a missed shot or a stop, that's the difference. Because I remember talking about that. There were a few games and all they had to do was hit a shot, get a stop, the game changes. Well, when you do that 9 times in a season, that drastically alters your season. You put 9 wins on the board for them right now. Look how good that makes them. And they're that close to having those 9 wins.
Yeah, certainly with a healthier team, they probably would have picked up at least a couple of those. I mean, and I think, that's another point for the NCAA resume is, look, it's not like they were losing every game by 30 when they lost 12 out of 13. They were competitive, in almost every game except Minnesota is my recollection of it. So, I mean, this is a team that even when they were down and out was fighting, and they found a way to work through it to win 4 in a row to close things out.
Absolutely. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier, I appreciate you. Make sure you check out his content out, thedailyhoosier.com, when the Big Ten starts on Thursday. Mike will be covering it for you. Mike, thank you, sir.
All right, Jim. Have a good one.
You bet. Jay Billis joins us next here on Indiana Sports Beat. We got plenty more coming back. Stay tuned. We're back right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us. Joined now by the incomparable Jay Billis from ESPN. Jay, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You are a busy, busy man, I know, and I thank you again for joining us. But this is the heart of the season for you, and actually the funnest time for anybody that works in this business, the tournament that gets ready to get started. A lot of questions, a lot of excitement, and just a lot of teams that are up in the air right now.
Yeah, but that's the job, so that makes it fun.
Absolutely, and some of the things that are not so much fun is the FBI stuff that has hit the NCAA this year. A lot of teams are going to be affected, but sometimes it seems like teams that are involved, Arizona's been mentioned, Kansas has been mentioned, but we've seen teams like when North Carolina got off a little bit easy. Does the NCAA seem a little reluctant to hit the bigger name teams when it comes to things like this?
No, those are totally different things. You're talking about, in one breath, you mentioned the FBI and then mentioned North Carolina. North Carolina has nothing to do with that. That was
right.
So those are completely different things. And in North Carolina's case, the rules didn't cover what happened with North Carolina. And other academic issues that have been like that, where they were curriculum-based, the rules don't cover that. So when there had been that kind of situation in the past, the NCAA never brought a case. They were embarrassed by some of the statements they had made and some of the stances that they had taken. So they decided to try to prosecute North Carolina with no case, and they got beat. That's all it was. There was nothing in the rules to cover that. And people that didn't understand the rules said, well, wait a minute, this person got cheated, or that got punished for cheating on a test. And why was this not done? They just don't understand the rules. And it was explained at the time. I was one of those that was at the beginning saying there's no case here. And the NCAA made a mess of it. And they wound up holding the bag at the end of it because they were, frankly, they were feckless in the way they went after it. It was just really, really dumb. And they paid the price for it.
Absolutely. And then this year, the basketball season has been one of craziness. You've got the Big Ten, which is one of if not the best conference top to bottom. Then you've got the ACC, which is without a doubt the best conference at the top with Virginia, North Carolina, and Duke, and those teams. And then you've got a team like Indiana that is in the Big Ten, of course, and went through a horrible stretch where they lost 12 out of 13 games, but they've righted their ship, so to speak, and they're still in the talk for an NCAA berth if they continue to win. That's a strange thing for us to see, a team with 14, 15 wins, but still be talked about as being a good tournament team.
Yeah, I don't know how good, but we'll see. As far as a good tournament team as to whether they get in, I think it's still a pretty big hurdle to get over the amount of losses, and so I think it'll be a difficult task for the committee to put Indiana in, because you're going to have to put them in over some other teams that have better, sort of better records. It's just a question of what are you going to value? You're going to value some good wins, or are you going to count up the incredible amount of losses? But it's really, if you look historically, Indiana probably wouldn't make it historically, but it's not a historical thing. It's more about this year. So comparing them against the other teams that are going to be in the pool, I'd be surprised if Indiana's not one of the last teams that gets in if they do. But I would not be surprised at all if they're left out.
And because of the way they played, they had national games against Duke earlier in the year when they did not exactly look their best in that game, to say the least. So the national media, the national response to this team is probably not one that gives them a lot of margin for error, I wouldn't think.
That has nothing to do with it. The people nationally and locally have watched and evaluated every game. So I don't think that's an issue. I think the issue is how good is the team? And you can, at the end of the day, you have to go by the record. And Indiana's record's not very good. And putting in a team that's so far underwater in conference play is going to be a big leap for this committee. Now, they say that it's full body of work, so your conference record shouldn't matter. But it does. I just think it's going to be – I think they're going to look at this very carefully, obviously, but I think it's going to be a big hurdle for everyone that votes to vote in a team that's lost as many games as Indiana or Texas, or there are a couple other teams, Alabama. And the one thing Indiana has going for it is oddly enough, they've won some games against good teams. But that's counterbalanced by losing so many games, and it's not like they've only lost to good teams. They've lost to some teams where you're shaking your head going, how did that happen?
Yeah, they lost to Minnesota badly. They lost at home to Nebraska. And I know Indiana's just one of the teams that you cover on a national basis. But from that perspective, if you remember a team that has had the quality of wins that this Indiana team has, and the losses, the head-scratching losses that they have as well?
Not the wild swings, no. You've seen teams that have had wins, like the 2 wins against Michigan State. There are certain games where a team may have your number, and so it's been hard. That may be a head scratcher to say, well, wait a minute. But it's the number of losses and then the quality of loss, because some of the losses you're like, well, wait a minute. You can, on one hand, it's hard to argue that, wait a minute, the team that beat Michigan State, we're really good. And then, but you're also the team that lost to this litany of teams that aren't so good. And that's a tougher road to hoe there, I think. But, it just depends on what each committee member is going to value. And I think if, it's going to be really important for Indiana that all of the top teams that are remaining in these smaller conferences win their conference tournaments. That if you've got a league where just like last night, it was fortunate for Indiana that Wofford won. If UNC Greensboro had won, Wofford's getting in anyway. So now UNC Greensboro is going to be a team that's compared to Indiana. Is Greensboro better? And that's going to be the task of the committee.
Absolutely. Talked about that earlier. Those bid stealers out there. We're talking with Jay Billis from ESPN. Obviously, during the basketball season is crazy for you. Tons of traveling, studying, all you preparing for games constantly. But how much does that ramp up now as the conference tournament starts, the ACC tournament starts, and then the NCAA tournament after that? How much does your year just really ramp up right now?
Not at all, really. The work's already done. So I've seen all these teams. There's very little to do now. Now more, it's just sorting a few things out. And, so there may be discussion about, hey, is this team a 1 seed? Is this team this? Or, is Indiana getting in the tournament? Stuff like that. But it really has, there's nothing to prepare for anymore as far as, geez, I really need to get to know this team. That there may be a couple of teams that were to get in. Like I haven't watched a ton of Bradley. I watched a little bit of tape of them, but I'll do a little bit of work on Bradley. But, you weren't expecting maybe a 5 seed out of the Missouri Valley Conference that had no shot of making the tournament and doesn't have any pros on it. You're not watching them day in, day out. So there'll be a little bit of work there, but there are very few of those teams that you haven't seen.
For people to get a good understanding, how much game do you have to watch? You do the games the games that you're calling and the games that you're preparing for, obviously, but it's the games that you're not calling that you still have to have knowledge of. How much time do you have to spend in just researching teams that you're not even getting playing or calling?
Oh God, I watch hundreds of games a year. Some I watch a lot of Synergy. It's a scouting service that NBA and college teams use. So I do that so I can watch whatever I want, whenever I want. And then, as the year goes on, it's pretty clear pretty early on, probably by January, you have a pretty good idea that, wait a minute, this team here is not any good. I'm not going to have to worry about this. And so I watch teams that have pros because of the NBA draft. So I spend a lot of time scouting players. And then the teams that I know are good. But if you're in the bottom third of Division I, I'm not staying up to watch your games, and I don't think anybody would quarrel with that. But that's my point about Bradley. Like Bradley's not been on the radar all year long. They don't have any pros on their team, so they wound up winning their doing well in their tournament. And I've known Brian Wardle. I know a couple of the players, but I'm gonna have to do a little bit more homework on them. But that's sort of my point is the overwhelming majority of the field I know back. I feel like I know backwards and forwards.
And which is always handy because you never know who's going to win on a particular night as the crazy tournament goes forward. Who's the team that you think gets in this year that's going to shock people in the tournament?
Wofford they may shock people that aren't paying attention, but Wofford's really good. They're really good. And, could they be a Davidson-like team? It's possible. And then, the other teams, if people have been watching at all, like Buffalo is excellent. Nevada's an outstanding team. So teams like that are going to, I think, do really well in the tournament. Houston is a team that I think very highly of. That just about Michigan had to make a 30-footer to beat them last year in the tournament in the second round. Otherwise, Houston would have been a Sweet 16 team. So I think there are a number of teams that don't have the name that we're used to, and then there are a number of name teams that frankly aren't as good as they've been in the past. But it's not. I'm not sure how good some of the middling teams are that we're going to see in the tournament that usually they get in, but they're not as good as they've been in the past. So. We could have some upsets, but then we could also have some of the blue bloods that rip through this thing. We'll have to see, and that's what makes the tournament great. But there are a couple of teams, like I mentioned, that have a chance to get to the Final Four, where in years past they wouldn't have had a chance.
Talking with Jay Billups from ESPN, the Big Ten is arguably the best conference top to bottom this year, but I'm not sure that I see a national champion team in there. Not that they're not great. Michigan's been great. Purdue's had a great year. Michigan State, obviously, with some injuries. But I'm just not sure I've seen somebody that can really to rip through the field and win the national championship. But I don't know much. But what are your thoughts on the Big Ten's ability to win a national championship?
I think it's there. I think that Michigan State can. I agree with you. They've had injuries that make you question that a little bit as to whether they can do it for 6 games. I thought very highly of Michigan, still do throughout the course of the year, but they're not as good offensively as I think a championship team needs to be. But that doesn't mean they can't do what. Like teams are going to continue to get better through the tournament too. Like the idea that they can't improve through the tournament is wrong. They can. And Purdue's really good on the offensive end. They're efficient. They can shoot it. And they've got a star in Carson Edwards. But I'm not one of those that thinks the Big Ten is the best league in the country because they've got so many teams that are similar. I think you have to have a little more power at the top to be the best league, but it's certainly been incredibly competitive. But there's still teams that are incredibly beatable down near the bottom. So I tend to think the ACC is the best league, but because it's got the most championship contenders that have a legit chance to win it. But reasonable minds could differ on that kind of stuff.
And Duke obviously is one of those teams with Zion coming back probably for the tournament, or do they cut the nets down?
Depends on whether he's the same player. If he's the same player, they're perfectly capable of doing that, but they also have another guy that's hurt. Marquise Bolden, their big guy, got injured in the game against North Carolina, so he's not going to be available for the ACC tournament, and it could be longer. So you don't know how that's going to go. It's certainly going to affect them. It's not a death knell or anything. But I like Duke's chances with Zion Williamson healthy. I thought they were the best team in the country with him. Without him, they clearly weren't. But you never know how things are going to gel when somebody comes back in this short a time period, because it's all you have to do is have one bad game and the year's over.
Jay, I thank you so much for joining us. I wish you the best of luck rest of the season, and thank you very much for joining us today, Jay Bilas.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Jay Bilas from ESPN joining us here on the program. Thank you very much to Jay, as he's very, very busy. But took a few minutes to spend with us, talk about the college basketball season. Very fortunate to that.
It's good stuff.
Very, very good to hear from. I really, a lot of people don't like. Some people don't like him. He's one of those people that either I think people love him or don't like him. It's kind of like a Dan Dockage.
Yeah.
But I like him because he tells it how it is,
right?
And he's usually right. He's an attorney. He's a pretty intelligent person. He was a hell of a basketball player. He's been around the game for a long time. He's got a lot of knowledge. Everybody doesn't always agree, and it doesn't mean he's always right. No one's always right. But I think that most of his takes are on, but it varies. It varies, but great perspective and interesting comments to hear from Jay Bilas of ESPN and his thoughts on the season, the Big Ten, Indiana. I don't know that he doesn't. I'm not sure that he sees Indiana's chances as the same as we do.
No. Well, and he definitely doesn't see the Big Ten the same as we do.
Well, no, and that's why. But that's great. That's why I wanted to talk to. I like talking to people with an outside perspective.
Yeah.
Because when you're surrounded by it, and that's all you talk to and about, you don't get the same perspective as other people get. And I agree with what he said. The Big Ten is the most balanced conference without a doubt. It is the toughest conference top to bottom without a doubt. But it is not the toughest conference as far as the ACC has got 3 teams in the top 5, man. Yeah. They have 3 teams that are national champion caliber for sure in North Carolina, Duke, and Virginia. The Big Ten's got Michigan State, but I don't think that they're as strong a look as either of those other 3 teams are, personally. Yeah. But all right, that's going to wrap it up for us today. I appreciate you joining us, and we'll be back with much more tomorrow. Matt Weaver joins us, and we'll be back with some football action. For Justin Kalen, I'm Jim Coyle, and I'll see you on the radio.